The one and only multiverse presents a grand unified theory. General relativity, quantum mechanics, cosmos, universe, multiverse and existence. Don't believe what you were told to believe, consider all evidence from all sources, then, and only then, form a conclusion. TM. Web page and video are not AI generated. Your host, Richard E. Noer. This theory is called the multiverse for a reason. It takes into consideration thousands of years of discovery and observations. From ancient civilizations to the high-tech advances of the Large Hadron Collider, it assembles information in a new way that makes sense. Most of the theory is known and accepted facts, but a few new ideas have been added to complete the picture. Some might consider TM a bit radical, but that has no meaning if it is correct. B. The vacuum of space, empty space, has been replaced by an uninterrupted sea of substance and a spatial force. In other words, the mass of the universe, multiverse. This includes the space between protons and electrons of the atom. This mass is made up of tiny spherical bodies called dark matter particles, universal particles. These particles are round, rotate, and can store and release energy because of spinning with magnetic compression or expansion. They are also responsible for the phenomena known as gravity. TM refers to all of the open universal expanse, as the dark matter sea. It is a mixture of rotating spherical structures, and polarized magnetic space with no voids or holes. If you need proof of the dark matter sea's existence, consider how radio waves transmit through space, or TMS interpretation of the single and double slit experiment, or how gravity currents pull on galaxies. Black holes? There are two extremes of energy and matter. The first one we will talk about is the well-known theory of stellar and galactic black holes. TM has thought long and hard about the implications of the label black hole, and has decided to call them black stars instead. If we are going to rethink the standard model, the new model must get it right. Even Einstein didn't believe in the concept. The supposedly stellar and galactic black holes will be referenced as black stars from now on because that is exactly what they are. B. Black holes do not exist in a grand unified theory, but there is a phenomena that resembles them. This is the super strong magnetic spatial energy of an extreme, rotating, dense body. It is black, and is surrounded by a black spatial force. This is because the density of the body, and its surrounding space, can't support light waves. This compacted star is what captures structures from space and creates the unescapable gravitational force. C. In the multiverse, black stars because of their extreme gravity can tear apart structural matter to the universal particle level and consume them. Deep inside a black star, universal particles because of compression, stop rotating, thus no gravity. The almost infinite numbers of particles with only potential energy are contained by a super strong magnetic field. This is new thinking and is explained in theory. The outer limits of space, the other extreme, is the dark matter particles in cold expanding space. These circular bubble-like particles will inflate while slowing rotation, then stop because of spent energy. The superinflated particles have lost their torus chaining and can no longer support a circular form. When this happens, the particles degrade into non-structured primal matter. Primal sand. This in turn, expands space to its final DMI. The sand-like substance takes up more space because it is not compressed into a sphere and spinning. Primal sand, space is a new state of matter and is near the Planck scale. They are the smallest individual tiny grains of matter but still can create space. This is because they can vibrate, move, and bump into each other, thus creating a weak spatial force. A spatial force has height, width, depth, and energy. That phenomena is important when explaining how spheres and magnetic distance is produced. This primal matter, space, is not polarized because there are no spinning particles. It is basic existence. Now for something profound. There is no such thing as empty space. Existence is matter and dark energy and magnetism. Matter has height, width and depth, and so does active dark energy and magnetism. It is the force of magnetism that creates polarized expanding, compacting space. This is all of existence, there is nothing else, and definitely not a vast expanse of nothing. In this theory, lots of time has been spent explaining gravity, magnetism, magnetic force, and quantum fields. This is the heart of the multiverse new thinking. No one has explained these things like this before, and it is worth a little extra time reading. I think you will be amazed. Lastly, all the matter of the universe is constant but energy is not. Primal matter and dark matter particles can change form but not the total amount of matter. The sum of matter remains the same. Matter cannot be converted into pure energy. This notion must be categorized as a concept without evidence. It is mass that can change. Mass is the volume of space that matter and its spatial force occupies. Energy, on the other hand, is different because it is the movement of matter. Energy is stored in magnetic compression and also black stars, but it still retains all its relative ability to move matter, even though it is theoretically possible to have matter without energy. That is why there is a never-ending tug of war, so to speak. Nature is always trying to balance its spatial force. Dark energy. Isaac Newton. 1643 to 1727, age 84. Newtonian physics and gravity. Newtonian reflecting telescope. Newton's gravity. Isaac Newton. Newton believed that every object in space creates a mutual attraction force between them. The bigger the object's mass, the more attracting force. What he could never figure out was why this was possible. Everybody assumed that the space between objects in space is a void or empty. Isaac stated that this dilemma was beyond current knowledge and had to be left for future generations to figure out. Well, the time has come. If all of the so-called open space is dark matter with magnetic distancing and no voids, it changes everything. New knowledge of space concludes that it is not empty as once thought. TM maintains that it is composed of tiny spherical particles of matter that has compression and rotational energy. It refers to this new state of space as a mixture of matter and magnetism. Dark matter with an XCP dark energy force. This is because there is no void between particles or bodies, but there is a polarized magnetic force, which in turn creates a medium for waves and currents. Isaac Newton's theory of gravity now has plausibility. Newton's theory of gravity is now solvable. Gravity becomes not a warping of space-time, but a real and easily understood pulling-pushing current between celestial bodies. These bodies have the same particles that compose dark matter, but they are much smaller and are in magnetic structural lock. Because they have more spin energy, they pull or push on the larger slower ones of space. This in turn creates a current in that medium. The dark matter particle C is the vehicle for gravity currents and light, magnetic waves. This new thinking about gravity explains all known gravitational attraction. Wave and pole shifting magnetic propagation have also been solved. The mystery of unifying matter and energy is no longer a problem, and the universe, multiverse, now has resolution. There are no perceived conflicts in this solution. TM believes that the gravity of Isaac Newton has been reborn, and Einstein's relativity is in serious trouble. Einstein's gravity has a very low probability level in a grand unified theory. Matter, energy, the speed of light and Einstein's gravity. Albert Einstein. 1879 to 1955, age 76. Energy. Time. Einstein's gravity. First event, quantum field's magnetic lock failure. Bang. Second event, quantum fields of particle stored energy release, thus creating a superpressure wave. Third event, this pressure wave compacts surrounding particles and produces searing heat, blinding light, and a strong magnetic force. When you burn something, you are breaking magnetic bonds of some specific elements and their atomic structures. This in turn produces an expanding pressure wave in their quantum fields. It compacts particles in other quantum fields of elements with less potential energy. The compression of already spinning universal particles is what produces the heat, light and magnetic force we all observe. Compressed particles, structures, or quantum fields that experience an energetic release, is an XCP dark energy event, thus changing spatial mass. It causes a small but unmistakable total expansion of space. This in turn, ever so slightly expands parts of the multiverse. The number of universal particles remains the same, but they are less dense, thus less gravity. Therefore it appears that matter has been converted into energy, but that is just an illusion. Energy is released or stored when mass changes its volume. Energy is a phenomenon but not matter, matter is an entity. See, this is the radical part of TM theory and goes against Einstein's E equals mc squared. I love Einstein, and for a long time I thought he was right. He almost nailed it. The problem occurred when Einstein needed a huge number to explain why some experiments yielded extreme energy levels for relatively small amounts of matter. He chose the speed of light squared. This significantly boosted the energy level of the equation and was a mathematical fit. It was a sensation and made some sense. Unfortunately, it is not logical. In TM theory, the speed of sound is determined by the displacement time and elasticity of molecules. The speed of light is determined by the displacement time and elasticity of universal particles of a dark matter C. The concentration of molecules or particles has a small effect on speed but not a large one. In other words, the speed of light, and sound, changes with the density of space. It is not fixed. Also, TM predicts you can have matter with no energy, mass with stored energy, or mass with both active and stored magnetic compression energy. The phenomena of XCP dark energy. Therefore, E equals mc squared makes no sense. In the multiverse, the vast amount of energy is caused by the huge numbers of universal particles with stored and/or active energy. The theory dictates that the total energy is proportional to the sum of universal particles, plus their potential force, times the rotational, expansion, contracting and lateral movement of matter, not times the speed of light squared. Simply put, the new mathematical explanation works, and the old one doesn't make sense. There are several other problems. People interpret E equals mc squared to mean that energy and matter are interchangeable, and that is just not so. Material space can release energy or store it because of magnetism. Universal particles expand, shrink, or collapse into primal sand but cannot morph into pure energy because energy is the movement of matter. The other energy problem is, total energy must include potential energy, and that is not part of the E equals mc squared formula. The physical process of spatial fluctuation, because of magnetism's ability to store and release energy, is just as basic to the universe as gravity, but it has been completely overlooked. TM says the real equation of energy should be, E equals md, energy equals matter times the density mass index. See Encyclopedia 14.1 for the forces of dark energy. Einstein's general relativity, gravity and the curvature of space-time. For about 100 years Einstein's theory of general relativity has dominated physics. This is because it was a better fit for newer observations that were made after Newton's death in 1727. It explained a lot of things that Newton couldn't or didn't know about. Now in 2017 things are very different. Einstein's general relativity is no longer infallible. People have started to question its relevance, including the multiverse. The explanations for dark matter, anti-gravity, dark energy, expansion, time, and the speed and propagation of light just doesn't seem to fit anymore. TM has thought long and hard about these problems and has come up with a simple and an easily understood solution. It all starts with our old friend Isaac Newton. It seems Isaac had surprising insight and, as it turns out, is more relevant to modern-day physics than anyone expected. But first, let's talk about general relativity. Einstein's explanation of gravity was created to explain how light, gravity, and a magnetic force travels through an expanse of nothing. It is based on the notion that gravity has the property of being able to warp the fabric of space-time. TM, we must interrupt here. Warping the fabric of space-time is a concept without evidence. We have all seen the demonstration of stretched material on a circular frame, then watching different weighted balls falling into the heavier center depression, guided by the warped fabric. TM says this doesn't represent in any way how actual gravity works. See, first of all, this experiment won't work in space. It is the gravity of Earth that is pulling down on the balls and the fabric that guides them to the heavier center. In space this is not relevant, the balls are weightless. These balls are semi-transparent to the pull of gravity, which in turn, determines the weight of each. They can only have weight if there is a strong gravity current flowing through and around the balls, otherwise, they would have no weight. In open space where there is no relative gravity pulling on the balls, they would not move the way they do on the Earth's surface. And finally, the fabric of space needs a clear explanation. So this concept of gravity only has a level 2 credibility, no more. Conclusion: Einstein's gravity seems logical if space, time, has a single relative plane. On the other hand, TM is predicting that this concept is, without a doubt, wrong, and for countless reasons. This is because all of the cosmos most certainly has an infinite number of relative planes, in an ever-changing polarized spatial expanse. For a unified theory to work, gravity must be a current between, and through, celestial bodies, and not the warped stationary fabric that Einstein predicts. A simple gravitational current in a dark matter sea explains it all, and cannot be discounted. Mathematics may try, but that's why it is not the defining authority. Einstein's special relativity, energy, matter, light speed, why does E equals mc squared seem to explain energy so well? We have discovered that this formula has a serious problem with the way energy works in the universe, and needs to be re-evaluated. E equals mc squared is mathematically close to the real thing, but for the wrong reasons. The speed of light squared is a very big number, 90 billion. As it just so happens, this number seems compatible with an explanation of the level of energy that matter can produce. Unfortunately, you cannot tie this amount of energy to light speed. Light speed is a separate entity, and has a qualified level of energy that all matter can create. In other words, it is limited. The energy level that moving matter has, is a variable and has no limits, so I'm sure the number can be greater than 90 billion. B. In TM, the minimum amount of energy that matter can produce is set, 0, but the maximum is not fixed. Light speed, on the other hand, is a unit of measurement, and is supposed to be limited. So, the restriction of light speed is not, and cannot, be tied to the amount of energy that polarized matter can create. It is undeniable that a black star supernova expands space much faster than light. So the conclusion is, the energy to do this is not limited to the speed of light, it is limited only to the amount of matter in a magnetic spatial force. E equals md, energy equals matter, times the density mass index. See the energy page for more. 2 very important basic facts. 1. Primal space, particle sand and weak energy, no magnetic force. 2. Dark matter particle space, with the magnetism of XCP dark energy. James Maxwell. 1831 to 1879, age 48. Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, and James Maxwell amaze me. They were remarkable visionaries, but now with new thinking, I put my money on the multiverse. All the science, observations, evolution, relativity, and logic add up. All the pieces of the puzzle fit, and for the life of me I can't find a valid contrary argument. I know there will be people with their mathematics to challenge this theory, but, with the complexity of the multiverse, math is not the ultimate defining authority. This is because it doesn't evolve, or take the path of least resistance. So, there is another road. As with all science, truth is the goal. May the best theory prevail. Closing arguments. A. All of the dark matter space in a multiverse is composed of super small spherical particles that have compression, vibrating and polarized spinning energy. This in turn creates a mixture of matter and a spatial force. B. Compressing, expanding, sound and light travel as pressure wave energy streaming through the medium of dark matter space. C. Radio, TV, radar, X, and gamma waves also travel as polarizing wave energy streaming through the same dark matter medium. D. A black star supernova most certainly expands and moves faster than light speed, and many black star supernova accounts for the multitudes of observed galaxies in the new JWST and Hubble Deep Field observations. All this new information is only possible in a multiverse of matter, magnetism, and an evolving perpetual existence. E. And finally, gravity does not warp space-time, it is nothing more than a pure current in the ether of space. One last thought, I wish I could have a conversation with these giants of physics. It would be something to know what they might say about the way things have evolved. I wonder if they would have more insights to ponder. I am confident Einstein would immediately get to work on how we could travel faster than light, knowing that it might be possible after all. And Isaac Newton most certainly would appreciate that the paradox of gravity has a logical conclusion. Last but not least, James C. Maxwell. I am sure he would be pleased to know that magnetism has been found to be the cornerstone of the vast expanse of dark matter space. He worked so hard on the concept but never achieved great recognition, until now. Sorry, James. What an incredible time and privilege to know such things. The giants of physics, Solvay Conference, Brussels, 1927. Some were on the right track, some were not. Your host, Richard E. Noer. Young me. Mini me. Email, noerastronomy@gmail.com. Here in a multiverse. Our goal is to find the cosmic truth. No matter where, or how far it takes you. The universe truly does unify. If you get the basics right.